Okay, so this is just one of those videos where I spend a little time laughing at my enemies.
Oh, so Devon Tracey is your enemy? That's pretty funny since you were such a big fanboy before. But you got so butthurt when he called you out that you went from fanboy to enemy. You know, AIU called me out on his alternate channel. No big deal. I'll still defend him on most of his positions. And I'll call him out when he's dead solid, perfectly wrong on issues such as gun control. But that's quite a Caesar complex you got going there, Isaac.
There's no way AIU will ever talk to you because he knows that you will make him look stupid in a live debate because you're smarter and faster and know the topic better. He did the same thing with me. He did the same thing with Vegan Gains. Don't get me wrong. He'll spend time posturing within his echo chamber, talking as if you don't make sense, calling you a beta male. But will he ever actually prove that he can defend his position? Hell no. So congratulations, Destiny, on adding yourself to the list of people who AIU will spend the rest of his life hiding from.
Oh yeah, the hypocrisy of AIU being scared to debate you. You know, Isaac has about 8 times as many subs as I do, and AIU has 6 times more subs than Isaac. But when Devon won't debate you, that's hiding and cucking in the shadows. But when you won't debate me, Isaac, that's because I don't have enough social media presence. Oh wait, but I forgot. You can get away with that hypocrisy because, what was that you said?
Posturing within his echo chamber.
Yeah, that's right, that's it. Isaac has an echo chamber of douchey 20-something vegans who will never call him out on his bullshit, and this allows him to be a bit liberal with the hypocrisy.
Let's just take a little look at the video that managed to incense Destiny here. Like many AIU videos, there are tons of bad inferences in here. Now, AIU, you have to understand, he's a person who speaks with a lot of confidence. He spends a lot of time posturing, and he knows how to play into people's sort of preconceived notions of like social roles. So like he knows how to like posture well and make himself come off like the cool guy. But his logic is horrible, right? So he can posture all he wants within his echo chamber. He can't defend his position in an actual conversation. And I think we can all evaluate which of those two things is more meaningful and more important, okay?
Okay, let's evaluate that. Let's see which is most important. Someone who's entertaining, funny, and enjoyable to watch, who makes a lot of great arguments, or completely boring, humorless Isaac, who is basically this guy telling us,
Actually, P is not equal to Q.
fucking hell, Isaac.
But Devon has actually made some incorrect inferences.
So anyway, give us your best argument, Isaac. Go.
This idea that the body is either male or female is totally wrong.
Okay, so that's what he's responding to. The notion that the body is either male or female.
Totally wrong.
Oh, man. There goes the neighborhood. All of that indoctrination I took in as a child. Boys and girls, everything was divided. You know, the boys are over here, the girls are with the bathrooms. There's no difference. My bad. I'm sorry. I will course correct.
Okay, so he got from her position that it's not the case that the body is male or female to there's no difference between male and female. So if we represent that in prop logic, we're going to get not P exclusive or Q implies R, right? So where P is, it's the case that the body is male, and Q is the body is female, and then R is there's no difference between male and female. Well, this is just trivially easy to reject, right? So my position, I'm just going to say that, okay, it's not P or Q, so I'll just say, like, there's intersex people. I'll just make another category. So the body isn't strictly male or female. And then I'll also reject R. I'm going to say, but there is a difference between the categories that we label male and female, right?
So you see what we're dealing with here, folks. First of all, he injects intersex into the argument. Now, interjecting intersex does nothing to solve the issue of how we are going to categorize a vast majority of people who are not intersex. And in fact, intersex is based on the two sexes. But here's the thing, folks. What Devon did is basically make kind of what you'd call the slippery slope argument. What he did was he agreed with the person making the argument, brought that argument to its conclusion, and showed how absurd it was. I'll show you an example of that. My last video was a video about Kim Fox, where she stated the fact that 86% of the people in jail are people of color, despite being 50% of the population, is an injustice. Now, if I went along with that argument to show how absurd it is, I would say something like, oh, that's an injustice? Well, we need to let people out of jail based on their color until the people who are jailed equally represent the general population. My bad. I simply agreed with the argument to show how absurd it was as an argument point, as an exercise. And Isaac, whose blinder focused on his P's and Q's, simply missed the whole point. So when Isaac made his counter-argument, he actually supported Devon's argument. So the whole thing went down like this. The woman made her argument. Devon sarcastically agreed with the argument to show how absurd it was and how incorrect it was. Then Isaac disagreed with the absurd point, which supported Devon's argument.
This idea that the body is either male or female is totally wrong. Totally wrong.
Oh, man. There goes the neighborhood. All of that indoctrination I took in as a child. Boys and girls, everything was divided. You know, the boys are over here, the girls are with the bathrooms. There's no difference. My bad.
But there is a difference between the categories that we label male and female.
Okay, let me explain a little bit how Devon gets to the point of saying there is no difference between male and female. Now, a vast majority of the people that believe in this woman's ideology are now saying that boy or girl are assigned at birth. Now, there's only two things that the doctor can do at birth. They can either observe objective, biological, stark reality and concur with that reality, or he can assign the baby being a boy or girl at birth. He is either observing a boy or he is observing something different, which is a girl. So if you agree with her ideology, you have to disagree that there is a difference. So let's do this. Let's play along. Let's say in the next 100 years, the doctor said absolutely nothing about any kind of sex or gender. They said, here's your baby. Half of these babies were declared to be boy or male, and the other half were declared to be girl or women. And half of those who were men had penises, and half of those who were men had vaginas. Half of those that were women had penises, half of those that are women had vaginas. In that situation, there would be no difference between the bodies of men and the bodies of women. That's the point he was trying to make, dipshit.
Just think about ice cream, right? If it's not the case that all ice cream is either vanilla or chocolate.
Shut up and move on to the next argument, you emancipated putz.
Let's move to the next. I have 3 here.
What if it's my preconceived ideas about what a woman is? And really, a woman can have a penis. And then all the words come tumbling down like Jenga. What is the point of words?
Okay, so that one we could put in prop logic as if a woman can have a penis, then all the words come tumbling down. We can just represent that as P implies Q, all right? So I'm just going to take a position that falsifies it, and I'm going to say P and not Q. So I'm going to say, yes, a woman can have a penis, and woman here refers to someone who identifies as a woman. Okay, let's say you can be a male, right? Biologically male, you can identify as a woman. So you have a penis, but you are a woman. Then all the words come tumbling down. Well, let's say that my position is that we shouldn't change any other word. What would be wrong with that position, right? So I could just hold P. I could say a woman can have a penis, and I could say it's not the case that Q, right? So it's not the case that all the words come tumbling down. I'm going to not change any other words or be highly selective about what words I'm changing. So there's just no reason to think that there's an implication there. Why would it be the case that if a woman can have a penis, then all the other words lose meaning? Are we going to stop calling a refrigerator a refrigerator? Are we going to start calling, a car battery an elephant? I don't know why he thinks that would follow. So there's another bad inference.
Okay, so Mr. P's and Q's went straight to the P's and Q's, and he missed the point again. So let's go back again and listen to Devon's argument. Let's listen to the very first thing he said.
What if it's my preconceived ideas about what a woman is?
Okay, what if it's my preconceived notion about what a woman is? That's what he's talking about, his preconceived reality about what a woman has been all of his life. Devon has lived 40-something years on this earth. He's learned thousands of words. Those words have specific meanings. Now, if it's okay to dismantle those well-established words, that reality that we've all faced for decades about what those words mean. If we can do that to one word, we can do it to all words. And Isaac, having those same standards for all words, that would be consistency, right? But you don't want to be consistent. You agreed that we can completely dismantle the meaning of the word woman. Then you inconsistently say that all other words are going to strictly hold their meaning. And what was your justification for that inconsistency?
Well, let's say that my position is that we shouldn't change any other word. What would be wrong with that position?
Oh, that's right, just a shoulder shrug, and, oh, gee, that seems okay, doesn't it? That just seems kind of reasonable, doesn't it? Hey, Isaac, you need to go to the bathroom and check in the mirror. Your autism is showing.
Let's go watch the third one.
And where does this end, by the way? So if we allow that and we say, look, okay, we think we know what a man and a woman is. We think that's a legitimate distinction to make scientifically and biologically. But, okay, you want to play your game, you say whatever the hell you want to be. And we'll just go with that. Now, this is an insult to the truth of the situation. It's an insult to language. But what else can you do? What else can you say? So when I'm crossing the border into a foreign country and they say, what right do you have to be here? Show me your paperwork. Are you a citizen? I say, yeah, I'm a citizen. They say, oh, really? And I say, yeah, I self-identify as a citizen of this country. If you accept the logic they're presenting here, why can't I do that? Why can't I go into my bank and say, I self-identify as a millionaire, now give me my money? Eventually, reality is going to bite you.
Okay, so let's go look at that one. We can represent this as if we allow women to identify as men and vice versa, then we should allow AIU to identify as a millionaire and be granted that money by the bank. So we can again just represent this as P implies Q. So I'll just take the position that P and not Q. And it's trivially easy to come up with a reason to allow P and not allow Q. Like, let's just appeal to utilitarianism. Let's just say, look, I think that it will maximize well-being to allow women to identify as men and vice versa, right? Allow someone who's biologically female, who has like the female parts, to identify as a man, to say what my internal state is maleness. That's how I feel, right? So let's allow that identification, and I'm going to say that it'll maximize well-being to do that. And I'm not convinced that it'll maximize well-being to just allow random people to say that they're millionaires and extract money from the bank. In fact, I think that everyone would then go and do that, and we'd collapse the entire economic system. So I'm going to say P and not Q, and I'm going to say the reason for allowing one and not the other is that one maximizes well-being and the other doesn't.
Oh my God. Classic straw man. Okay, let's go back and listen to the very first sentence and the very last sentence that Devon said while he was making his argument.
And where does this end, by the way? Eventually, reality is going to bite you.
So he starts off with, where will this end, by the way? And then ends with, eventually reality is going to bite you. He's making the classic slippery slope argument. And when he was making his argument, and he asked the question, why can't I go down to the bank and identify as a millionaire and get $1 million, that was a rhetorical question as part of his argument, as part of his slippery slope argument, again, to show the absurdity. Actually, yourself, again, went straight to the P's and Q's and missed the point. So let's go over Devon's argument again, point by point, where he makes the slippery slope argument and asks the millionaire question as a rhetorical question as part of his argument.
Where does this end, by the way? So if we allow that and we say, look, okay, we think we know what a man and a woman is. We think that's a legitimate distinction to make scientifically and biologically. But, okay, you want to play your game, you say whatever the hell you want to be. And we'll just go with that. Now, this is an insult to the truth of the situation. It's an insult to language. But what else can you do? What else can you say? So when I'm crossing the border into a foreign country and they say, what right do you have to be here? Show me your paperwork. Are you a citizen? I say, yeah, I'm a citizen. They say, oh, really? And I say, yeah, I self-identify as a citizen of this country. If you accept the logic they're presenting here, why can't I do that? Why can't I go into my bank and say, I self-identify as a millionaire, now give me my money? Eventually, reality is going to bite you.
Okay, guys, we're flattening Ackchyually yourself pretty badly here. So let's do this. Let's give the poor guy a little head start. Let's give him his straw man. Let's say that's actually what Devon was making as his argument. That he's saying the bank should give him that $1 million. Let's just give him his straw man. So again, let's listen to his reason for his counter argument.
Let's just appeal to utilitarianism. Let's just say, look, I think that it will maximize well-being to allow women to identify as men and vice versa, right? Allow someone who's biologically female, who has like the female parts, to identify as a man, to say what my internal state is maleness. That's how I feel, right? So let's allow that identification, and I'm going to say that it'll maximize well-being to do that. And I'm not convinced that it'll maximize well-being to just allow random people to say that they're millionaires and extract money from the bank. In fact, I think that everyone would then go and do that, and we'd collapse the entire economic system. So I'm going to say P and not Q, and I'm going to say the reason for allowing one and not the other is that one maximizes well-being and the other doesn't.
Well, first of all, Mr. Logic Expert here, appealing to utilitarianism when he's actually appealing to consequentialism. Let's read about that a little bit on this philosophy board. In a nutshell, Ashcombe considers utilitarianism to take account in respect of consequences solely of the actual consequences of action. In contrast, consequentialism, a term which she introduced, determines that one should do solely by reference to the foreseen consequences of action. So when you foresee an undesirable consequence as a reaction or a chain reaction to actions, you're appealing to consequentialism, not utilitarianism. I'll read further. If only foreseen consequences are morally irrelevant, an old-fashioned utilitarian such as J.S. Mill parts company with the consequentialists. For while Mill only allows actual consequences to determine the morality of an action, he takes intention into account in determining the morality of the agent. For the consequentialist, all that matters are the foreseen consequences of one's actions.
Like, let's just appeal to utilitarianism. I think that everyone would then go and do that, and we'd collapse the entire economic system.
So in other words, Isaac foresees the banking collapse from everyone taking out the $1 million. The person did not intend to make the bank collapse. Their only intention was to get a lot of money. So he's incorrect on that point, just right from the start. Secondly, appealing to consequentialism is certainly not the best argument against taking the $1 million from the bank. The reason that allowing someone to legally identify and facilitate as a millionaire because they were allowed to identify and facilitate as a certain gender is due to the fact that they are not consistent premises. When you allow someone to identify as the opposite gender, all they're asking is that you act a certain way when you're dealing with it. And every private person or entity has that right. Let's say you like to walk around in a string bikini, and it's perfectly legal for you to be out in public like that. But then you decide to attend a church in that string bikini. That church has a right to kick you out. That church has a right to say, look, you're welcome to come here and worship, but you're going to have to dress a certain way when you come in here and deal with us. Every private entity has that right. And that's all someone who identifies as a woman is asking, that you act a certain way when dealing with them. When you allow someone to identify as a millionaire and they demand you facilitate them by producing $1 million, this is totally different. In this scenario, you are demanding that the world produce resources, people completely unrelated to you. You're demanding that the world produce resources, take action, and make you objectively a millionaire. That is totally different from asking people to address you a certain way only when they're dealing with you, which is your right. You don't have the right to other people's resources. This is a better argument against the $1 million. So Isaac, in closing, I just have one question for you. What's your ass taste like now that I've handed it to you?
Chocolate